Hey, you. Ever get that sneaky feeling that there's more to you than meets the eye?
Hmm.
Like you're operating on maybe half your cylinders and the other half is just kind of idling?
Yeah, totally. That feeling of something missing.
Exactly. Well, you're definitely not alone. Today, we're embarking on this really fascinating journey into Carl Jung's work.
Right, specifically his idea of individuation.
Which, okay, fancy word alert, but it's basically about becoming the most whole, authentic version of you.
And it's important to stress this isn't about, like, a personality makeover.
No, not at all. It's more about uncovering the rock star you already are,
Mm.
maybe buried under a few layers of, well, life stuff.
Precisely. Think of it as less about becoming someone new and more about finally getting to properly know the incredible person you already are.
And the material we're looking at today from Jung's collected works, Vol 7, Part 2, it gives us a fantastic roadmap.
It really does. Now, I know what some might be thinking. Jung, isn't that going to be, super dense, maybe a bit dry?
Could be drier than a week-old bagel, yeah.
But stick with us, because within his writing, there are some seriously mind-blowing insights, real aha moments.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll try to make it approachable. There's this great quote from the text.
Yeah.
Jung says, "The unconscious is not a willing slave."
Ooh, that gives you pause, doesn't it?
It really does. It hints at these powerful forces just simmering beneath our everyday awareness.
Okay, so where do we start peeling back these layers?
Let's start with something Jung called the persona.
The persona, right?
Now, this isn't just your social media profile, though, there might be some overlap there.
Sure, some similarities.
Think of the persona more like the mask or masks you wear in different situations.
Like the professional you at work.
Yeah, or the fun friend you when you're out, the patient family member you at home. We all do it. It's how we navigate society.
That's right. The source material really emphasizes that the persona is the face we consciously present.
Yeah.
We choose it.
Which makes it pretty easy to spot, usually.
Yeah, when you're putting on your game face for a big meeting or your like a charming host face when people come over.
Mm-hmm.
The trouble starts, though, when we get maybe too comfortable behind that mask.
Right, like we forget who we are without it.
Exactly. It's like method acting gone a bit too
Yeah.
far. You start believing the hype of the character you're playing.
Huh. Totally been there. And Jung's big idea here is that this journey of becoming more you involves, I love this phrase, divesting the self of the false wrappings of the persona.
Divesting.
Yeah.
Stripping it away, kind of.
Yeah. It's about realizing that while these roles are necessary, sure, for getting along in the world,
Mm-hmm. Functional.
they're just not the complete picture of who you truly are.
And if you're constantly playing a part that feels a bit off.
Yeah, like those slightly too tight formal pants. Itchy.
Right. It can leave you feeling disconnected, just going through the motions, not really living.
And that feeling, that disconnect, often leads us to the next fascinating piece of the puzzle,
Which is,
the unconscious.
yes,
Yeah.
the deep waters.
Now, don't picture some dusty basement in your mind full of cobwebs and, I don't know, forgotten song lyrics.
No, it's not just storage. The Jungian view, based on the material we've got, sees the unconscious as dynamic, incredibly influential.
It shapes your thoughts, your feelings, your behaviors in ways you might not even realize. It's way more than just, a place for embarrassing high school memories.
Although they might be in there too.
Probably. But the Jungian text points out that these unconscious processes are often much more subtle.
Harder to grasp than our conscious thoughts. More mysterious, maybe?
Yeah, it's like trying to figure out why you suddenly have a craving for, that specific childhood cereal. There's something going on beneath the surface driving that urge.
And what's really insightful here is what Jung called the compensatory function of the unconscious.
Compensatory, meaning?
Meaning it's constantly striving for a sense of balance within you. Psychic equilibrium.
Okay.
So if your conscious mind is, say, hyper-focused on being logical all the time, or maybe it ignores your emotional side, the unconscious will often try to, compensate. It provides content, often through dreams or fantasies, maybe even those random feelings that pop up.
To balance things out.
Exactly. Think of your dreams as little psychic weather reports. They tell you about the undercurrents you might be ignoring consciously.
So, okay, let's say I consciously pride myself on being super logical, very rational. My dreams might be full of wild emotions or totally irrational scenarios.
Precisely. It's like your unconscious is gently tapping you on the shoulder saying, hey, buddy, loosen up a little. There's more to life than spreadsheets.
My unconscious hates spreadsheets. Good to know.
Well, It's not usually a logical argument coming from the unconscious. It's more symbolic, like a nudge, a feeling, an image.
Right.
And by paying attention to these often strange signals, especially in dreams, you can gain some really valuable clues.
Clues about the parts of yourself that might be, what, yearning for attention or needing integration.
Exactly. It's like having a slightly eccentric, but ultimately very helpful inner advisor.
Okay, so we've peeked behind the mask, the persona. We've had a little chat with our inner uh, weirdo in the unconscious.
The helpful weirdo.
The helpful weirdo, yes. Now, this is where it gets even more intriguing, I think. Jung talks about the anima and the animus.
Ah, yes. Anima and animus.
Now, hold on a sec. Before anyone jumps to conclusions, this isn't strictly about, male and female stereotypes in the traditional sense.
No, exactly. As the source material explains, within Jung's framework, the anima represents the sort of innate feminine aspects within a man's psyche.
And the animus
Represents the inherent masculine aspects within a woman's psyche.
But think of these not as like societal gender roles.
And definitely not.
Yeah.
More like fundamental psychological energies or qualities that exist in all of us, regardless of our biological sex or gender identity.
Okay. And Jung observed, didn't he, that the anima in men, for example, can be influenced by their experiences with actual women.
Mothers, sisters, partners.
But also by the sort of collective idea of femininity floating around in the unconscious. And maybe even some innate psychic wiring.
Yeah, it's a mix of personal experience, cultural influence, and maybe something deeper, more archetypal.
So let's take someone who presents as very traditionally manly in their persona, all logic, maybe stoic.
Right, the strong, silent type, perhaps?
Their anima, the less developed emotional or intuitive side, might be less conscious. And that anima being part of that unconscious drive for balance we talked about.
The compensatory function again?
Right. It might pop up unexpectedly, like sudden sensitivity or maybe a strange urge to write poetry or
a deep connection to nature or a fascination with art. Things that don't fit the conscious persona.
Yeah. It's like your inner action hero suddenly developing a secret fondness for watercolor painting.
Ah, that's a fantastic analogy. And this interplay, this dance between the animus and the persona, is often where things get really interesting psychologically.
Because if you over-identify with your outward image, your persona,
you might neglect these vital inner energies. You suppress them, maybe unconsciously.
And Jung believed that integrating these seemingly opposite sides of ourselves is vital for psychological wholeness, for individuation.
Absolutely. Ignoring the anima or animus entirely or projecting it onto others can actually contribute to those feelings of unease or anxiety or even neurosis.
So, okay, how do we even start to get in touch with these inner opposite energies? It sounds a bit abstract, like trying to have a chat with a ghost.
It can feel that way. Jung suggested objectifying the anima or animus.
Objectifying, like treating it as a separate thing.
Almost, yeah. Treating it as a distinct part of yourself you can interact with. This could involve paying attention to recurring figures in your dreams that have a certain feminine or masculine energy, depending on you.
Okay, dream figures. What else?
Maybe journaling from the perspective of this inner aspect, asking it questions, or even using active imagination, visualizing and interacting with it consciously.
Giving it a voice, almost.
Exactly. By giving it a voice, you can start to understand its influence, its needs, its perspective. And then you can begin to integrate its qualities into your conscious awareness.
So it's less about being ruled by it unconsciously and more about partnership.
Precisely. It's about building a better inner committee where all the members get heard.
All right, fascinating. So we've met our inner other half, the anima or animus. But hang on, the journey doesn't stop there, does it?
Nope. There's another potential stage or maybe a potential pitfall that Jung described.
Which is?
The mana personality.
Mana personality. Okay, mana sounds a bit like some kind of superpower, right? Like you've suddenly unlocked your inner guru mode.
That's actually a really good way to think about how it feels. The mana personality can emerge when someone starts to become more aware they're unconscious.
Especially after engaging with the anima or animus.
Right. The ego, the conscious self, might mistakenly believe it has now mastered these deeper aspects.
Ah.
And it feels like it's absorbed their power, the mana. This can lead to an inflated sense of self, a feeling of being exceptionally wise or powerful or spiritually advanced because of this newfound self-awareness.
Oh, I think I know this feeling. It's like when you read a couple of self-help books and suddenly think you're qualified to give everyone life advice.
Oh, yes. That brief period of slightly overblown confidence, We've all probably touched that state.
Totally. So it's like an ego inflation based on touching the unconscious.
Exactly. And as the Jungian material points out, the mana personality is often a flat collective figure,
Flat meaning.
meaning it's still heavily influenced by archetypes, by general patterns, rather than being a truly individualized sense of self. It lacks nuance.
So it's not really you. It's more like you embodying the archetype of the wise one or the powerful one.
Precisely. And it can actually hinder further growth because the ego gets stuck in this feeling of superiority or having arrived.
Yeah.
It stops doing the harder, more nuanced work of continuing to integrate the unconscious.
Instead of relating to it, you think you are it.
Jung even used examples from literature, like aspects of Goethe's Faust or Nietzsche's Zarathustra as sort of cautionary tales. Figures who tried to outwardly master or become these profound inner forces rather than integrate them.
Right. So a key here is not to get stuck in that, woohoo, I've got it all figured out phase.
Definitely not. It's crucial to differentiate your conscious ego from this inflated mana personality.
Oh.
By recognizing that the insights and energy you've gained are part of an ongoing process, not a final destination called enlightenment. It's about consciously assimilating the contents that gave rise to that mana feeling, not identifying with the feeling itself.
Okay, so appreciate the power, but don't let it go to your head.
Basically, yes. And the ultimate aim, as Jung outlines it, isn't the mana personality. It's the development of the self with a capital S.
The self, which is
A more integrated, balanced, and authentic psychological whole. The center point that holds both conscious and unconscious together.
So the mana personality is like a stepping stone or maybe a potential detour on the way to the self?
That's a good way to put it. It's about consciously integrating the insights gained from the unconscious, realizing that any sense of power or wisdom comes from that deeper connection, not just from your ego's temporary grasp on new knowledge.
And that leads to a more grounded, more genuine sense of who you are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A sense of self that Jung connected to this idea of an inherent wholeness that deep down we're all striving towards.
Wow. Okay, so just to sort of wrap this up a bit, this whole journey of individuation that Jung talks about, it's really this incredible lifelong adventure, isn't it?
Absolutely. Getting to know yourself better.
Yeah, becoming more aware of the masks you wear, the persona.
And the powerful undercurrents of your unconscious, the compensatory messages.
Those inner masculine and feminine energies, the anima and animus.
And even watching out for that potential pitfall of the mana personality, thinking you've arrived after one good therapy session or insight.
Huh? Right. It's not a quick fix, is it? Or like a weekend workshop you can tick off.
Definitely not. It's an ongoing process, unfolding discovery.
But understanding these key Jungian concepts we've touched on today, the persona, unconscious compensation, animus, mana personality, it can provide a really valuable framework, right?
Incredibly valuable. A map of sorts for navigating the complexities of your inner world.
Yeah.
And ultimately moving towards a more complete, more authentic way of being.
So maybe something for everyone listening to think about as they go about their day. How might the persona you're currently wearing, maybe at work or home, be influencing how you're interacting? Is it serving you?
Good question. Or perhaps that strange dream you had last night wasn't just random brain noise.
Yeah. Maybe it was a little message from your unconscious trying to nudge you towards greater balance. A hint from your animus or animus?
Could be. It's all part of this fascinating, ongoing journey of self-discovery.
Definitely. So which of these insights really resonated most with you today? The persona, the unconscious, animus, that tricky ama personality.
Whichever it is, maybe that's a thread worth pulling out a little further in your own personal deep dive.
Yeah. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. And remember, the adventure of understanding yourself is truly the most rewarding one there is.
Keep exploring. Keep questioning.
And keep becoming more authentically you.